The West must now learn from the East, just as the East once learned from the West. That's the message from one of the world's most prominent geopolitical thinkers, Kishore Mahbubani, former president of the UN Security Council and Singapore's longtime ambassador to the United Nations. In an exclusive conversation with New Time reporter Baljan Samigulina, Kishore Mahbubani warns that the US foreign policy is becoming more unpredictable and that this shift could pose serious risks to global stability. And as Washington turns inward, Asia is stepping forward with growing confidence and clarity of purpose. So, what does this shift mean for the global order? Is Asia now shaping the rules of the future? To find out Professor Mahbubani's ideas on these points, please watch the fragment of the interview right now.
Mr. Mahbubani, thank you very much for joining us. Let me start from this point. You've noted that West must learn from the East as East must learn from the West. And now we can see that Asia is showing more confidence, while Europe and West in general are facing some instability. Would you say that world history is now taking another direction?
World history is definitely taking another direction. We are seeing the end of the era of Western domination of world history, but that's not the end of the West. The West will still remain very strong, but the capacity of the West to dominate the world has diminished and will continue to diminish, and you'll see the return of Asia.
Is Asia the one now who is writing actually new rules of a global order?
Well, the good news is that the return or rise of East Asia is not going to destabilize the world. I think certainly the Asian countries don't want to overturn the current world order because most East Asian countries, especially China, have been beneficiaries of the 1945 rules-based order that was set up by the West at the end of World War II.
Do you think in the next decade we can see that new institutions and new orders will be now more East-oriented? As now you have mentioned, now up to now it was West-oriented, and now it can be rewritten.
I don't think you will have new institutions. I think the UN family of institutions will remain, the IMF and World Bank will remain, but the control of these institutions can no longer be dominated by the West. So, for example, it says in the constitution of the IMF that the IMF must be situated in the capital of the largest economy in the world. Now, when the United States put that rule in 1945, it thought United States would be number one forever. But at some point in time, 10 years, 15 years, when China becomes number one, IMF will have to move from Washington, D.C. to China. So that's how the world will change.
You touched on U.S., and I've seen your citation that you surprisingly view how United States interacts with the outer world. How do you assess right now the attempts of current American administration to interact with other countries?
Well, I think President Donald Trump, as you know, is very different from his predecessors. Very different. Because, traditionally, American presidents, like John F. Kennedy, said America will pay any price, bear any burden to fight for freedom around the world, I mean, President John F. Kennedy said, the American people are ready to make sacrifices to make the world a better place. But President Trump's goal is not to make the world a better place. His goal is MAGA, Make America Great Again. And so his view is that his job is only to take care of America. And so he's prepared to pressure other countries if he has to. And he has basically created a whole new America, a different America from the one that we used to know. And now we have to live with this new America because we do not choose the US president. The American people choose the US president, and we have to learn to live with him.
To what extent it is risky?
Well, certainly it is risky, but at the end of the day, I think President Trump also can accept win-win agreements. So I was pleasantly surprised when he reached a ceasefire with China in the trade war so quickly. I didn't expect it so quickly. I thought it would be a long, drawn-out war. But I think President Trump could see that the bond markets were troubled, that the stock markets were troubled, and he decided, okay, maybe it's in his interest to try and achieve a ceasefire and a truce with China. And I think that's going to help the world.
In terms of global security, again, now we can see the trend of increasing armament. So what threats does it impose so far?
Well, actually, one of the paradoxes is that somebody said that to have peace, prepare for war. So sometimes when countries buy more arms, it doesn't mean that they'll go to war. It means that they are trying to protect themselves from the eventuality of war. And in some ways, that helps to preserve the peace. As you know, one reason why we have not had a nuclear war since nuclear weapons were invented in the 1940s is because of mutual assured destruction. And so sometimes having weapons can prevent war too.
So now we can see the conflicts actually almost in all the continents. How do you think, can it evolve into a bigger one, a huge conflict, global conflict in the next decade?
I'm actually quite optimistic that the current conflicts that we have will not spread and become bigger. So I don't think that the Ukraine conflict will become bigger, that at some point in time they'll have to compromise and reach a deal that respects the security interests of of course, the people of Ukraine, the people of Russia, and the people of Europe. You can achieve a compromise.
What about the situation in the Middle East? Yeah.
Well, I think I'm glad you asked me about the situation in the Middle East. I don't think it's going to spread to other countries. Remember in the 50 years ago when you had a conflict in the Middle East, Egypt would be fighting a war with Israel and Jordan would be fighting a war with Israel. And I don't see that happening now because Israel has now achieved overwhelming military domination of its neighborhood, which is why as a friend of Israel, I believe that now that Israel is so strong and powerful, this is the time for Israel to make peace with its neighbors. And President Trump is right in trying to reinvigorate the Abraham Accords and try to achieve a normalization between Saudi Arabia and Israel. But Israel, in turn, must give the Palestinians a state of their own. This is the best time for Israel to try and achieve a two-state solution. And it'd be very sad if Israel, a former Israeli foreign minister used to say that the Palestinians never miss an opportunity to miss an opportunity. Today, Israel is maybe missing an opportunity to miss an opportunity.
Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.